I've worked at SaveMart grocery store for 3 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Drunk customers, shoplifters, even someone who tried to return a half-eaten turkey. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened on that Tuesday night. It was 8:45 p.m., 15 minutes before closing. I was working a late shift with Danny, my co-worker, and we were doing our usual end-of-night routine. The store was almost empty, except for a few stragglers grabbing last-minute items. I was restocking the candy aisle near the front when I heard Danny's voice crackle over the walkie-talkie. "Hey, can you check the bathrooms before we lock up? I've got my hands full with this register." I groaned but grabbed my keys. The bathrooms were at the back of the store, past the deli section. As I walked through the dimmed aisles, we always turn half the lights off at 8:30 to encourage people to leave. I noticed how quiet it had gotten. The usual music had stopped, and my footsteps echoed against the linoleum floor. The bathroom check was routine. Men's room, empty. Women's room, empty. Everything looked fine. I was walking back toward the front, checking my phone, when I noticed the time, 8:59 p.m., 1 minute to closing. That's when I smelled it. At first, I thought maybe something had spilled in the produce section. Rotten vegetables, maybe. But as I got closer to the front entrance, the smell became overwhelming. It was fecal, strong, recent. I rounded the corner to the vestibule, that small area between the bathroom hallway and the exit doors, and I saw it. Someone had defecated right there on the floor. Not near a corner, not hidden away, but right in the middle of the walkway. A massive pile. And from the looks of it, this had happened minutes ago. Maybe while I was in the bathroom. Maybe while I was walking back. "Danny!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "Danny, get up here." He came running, took one look, and his face went pale. "What the hell? How did? When did?" "I don't know. I just checked the bathrooms and everything was fine." But here's where it gets worse. We heard the automatic doors slide open. A woman in her 50s walked in, eyes on her phone, not paying attention. She stepped right into it. Her white sneakers sank into the mess with a wet squelch. "Oh my God!" she screamed, looking down. "What is, oh God?" She tried to back up, slipped, caught herself on the door frame, and tracked it everywhere. The automatic door kept opening and closing, her movements triggering the sensor. Then another customer came in, an elderly man with a walker. He didn't see it either. "Sir, wait!" I yelled, running toward him, but was too late. His walker's front wheels rolled right through it. He looked down, confused, and started to turn the walker around, spreading in an arc across the floor. Danny had run to hit the emergency stop on the automatic doors, but in that 30-second window of chaos, 2 more people had walked through. One was a teenager who screamed and ran back out, tracking it into the parking lot. The other was a mother with a stroller. She noticed just in time, but her young daughter had already stepped in it. I stood there, frozen, watching this nightmare unfold in real time. The smell was so overpowering, I thought I might vomit. The woman was crying, trying to wipe her shoe on the mat, which only spread it more. The elderly man was apologizing profusely, not understanding what had happened. The mother was yelling at us for not putting up a sign, her daughter wailing. Danny finally got the doors stopped and locked. We had to call our manager, who lived 20 minutes away. We had to help these people to their cars, offering them bags to put their shoes in. The woman threatened to sue. The mother demanded we pay for her daughter's shoes. But the question that haunted me, that still haunts me, is, who did this? I reviewed the security footage later with my manager. At 8:57 p.m., a figure in a dark hoodie walks from the bathroom hallway toward the exit. They stop right in that spot. They stand there for maybe 10 seconds, their back to the camera. Then they pull their hood tighter and walk out through the doors at 8:58 p.m. We never saw their face. We don't know if it was a man or a woman. We couldn't see any identifying features. But what disturbs me most is this. They waited. They planned it. They chose 8:59 p.m., 1 minute before closing, knowing we'd be distracted with shutdown procedures, knowing customers would still be leaving, knowing it would cause maximum chaos. The footage shows them walking out calmly into the parking lot, getting into a dark sedan and driving away. No rushing, no looking back, just leaving. We had to close the store for 2 hours for deep cleaning. The company brought in a biohazard team. I had to fill out incident reports until 2 a.m. But sometimes when I'm doing a closing shift and I'm alone in those back aisles at 8:45 p.m., I think about that figure in the hoodie. I think about how they stood there for 10 seconds, just waiting, making their decision. And I wonder, was I in the bathroom when they walked past? Did I walk by them without knowing? Were they watching me the whole time? I still work at SaveMart. I still do closing shifts. But now, at 8:45 p.m., I don't just check the bathrooms. I check every aisle, every corner, every shadow. Because somewhere out there, someone thought this was funny. Someone planned this. And what scares me is wondering, will they come back? I work overnight at a truck stop off I-40, somewhere between nowhere and nothing. It's one of those places where the nearest town is 20 miles away and the highway is just a ribbon of lights through the darkness. We get truckers, mostly. Guys hauling freight cross-country, looking for coffee and a bathroom break. Occasionally we get families on road trips who miscalculated their gas situation. It's lonely work, but I got used to it. The hum of the fluorescent lights, the occasional ding when someone opens a door, the coffee maker gurgling away in the corner. My co-worker, Sean, usually works a shift with me, but he called in sick that night. So it was just me and the darkness outside. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I saw the headlights. A car pulled into the parking lot. Not unusual, except for how it was moving. Slow, deliberate. It crept across the asphalt like it wasn't sure where to go, finally stopping under one of the lot lights about 30 feet from the entrance. I could see 2 figures inside. The car just sat there, engine running, headlights on. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I went about my business, restocking cigarettes, wiping down the counters, but I kept glancing out the window. The car hadn't moved. No one had gotten out. After 15 minutes, I started to feel uneasy. This wasn't normal. People pull up, they come in, they leave. They don't just sit there. I grabbed my phone, thinking maybe I should call the state troopers, when I finally saw movement. The driver's side door opened and a man stepped out. Even from a distance, I could tell something was wrong. His movements were jerky, uncoordinated. He stood beside the car for a moment, bent over slightly, and that's when I realized he was crying. Not just tears streaming down his face, but full-body sobs. His shoulders shook. He braced himself against the car door like his legs might give out. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I told myself he was probably just having a bad night. Breakup, maybe. Family emergency. Still, I couldn't stop watching. The man composed himself after a minute, wiped his face with his sleeve, and started walking toward the store. The passenger, I still couldn't make out any details, just a silhouette, didn't move, didn't turn their head, just stared straight ahead through the windshield. The bell dinged as he entered. Up close, he looked ordinary. Mid-30s, wearing a wrinkled dress shirt and slacks. His eyes were bloodshot, his face pale and drawn. He smiled at me, a strange, tight smile that didn't reach his eyes, and started browsing the aisles. "Evening," I said, trying to sound casual. "Can I help you find anything?" He didn't respond right away, just walked slowly down the candy aisle, picking up a Snickers bar, putting it back, picking up a Kit Kat, putting it back. His movements were mechanical, like he was going through motions he'd forgotten how to perform. "It's so quiet in here," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, it's the overnight shift. Usually pretty dead this time of night." He turned to look at me, and that smile was back. That wrong, unsettling smile. You can almost hear the angels singing. The way he said it, the complete disconnect between his words and the emptiness in his eyes, made my blood run cold. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, I guess so. You, need anything else?" He picked up a bag of chips, brought it to the counter, and set it down carefully. As I rang it up, I tried not to stare, but I couldn't help noticing his hands. They were shaking, and there was something dark under his fingernails. Dirt, maybe? Or, "That'll be $2.79, I said. He pulled out his wallet with trembling fingers, fumbled with a $5 bill, and handed it to me. Our fingers touched briefly, and his hand was ice cold. "Keep the change," he whispered. He took the bag of chips and walked toward the door, then stopped. Just stood there in the doorway, his back to me, completely still. The automatic door started to beep, sensing an obstruction. "Sir," I called out. "You okay?" He didn't turn around. "Do you believe in heaven?" My heart was pounding now. I guess so, yeah." "That's good," he said softly. "That's real good." And then he walked out. I watched him cross the parking lot back to his car. He opened the driver's door, got in, and closed it. Through the windshield, I could see him talking to the passenger, gesturing with his hands. The passenger still hadn't moved. Not an inch. They sat there for another 5 minutes. My hand hovered over my phone, ready to call 911. But what would I say? A guy bought chips and said something weird? A car's parked in our lot? Finally, the car started moving. It pulled out slowly, headlights sweeping across the empty lot, and merged back onto the highway. I watched until the taillights disappeared into the darkness. The whole thing left me deeply unsettled, but I tried to shake it off. Weird things happen on night shifts. People are tired, stressed, go through things you don't know about. I cleaned up the store, made fresh coffee, and tried to forget about it. But I couldn't stop thinking about that passenger. They never moved, never turned their head, never shifted in their seat. The next morning, when Sean came in to relieve me at 6 a.m., I told him about it. He laughed it off at first, but then his face got serious. "What kind of car was it?" he asked. "I don't know, a sedan. Dark blue, maybe black." He pulled out his phone and showed me a news article. Like this, my stomach dropped. The headline read, "Woman found dead in vehicle on I-40, husband missing." The article was from 2 days ago. A woman's body had been discovered in a car at a rest stop about 60 miles west. She'd been dead for at least 24 hours. Her husband was wanted for questioning, but hadn't been seen since. The car in the photo was dark blue, a sedan. "Sean," I said, my voice shaking, I think she was in the passenger seat." He stared at me. "What?" "The passenger in that car. She never moved, Not once. She just sat there, staring. We called the highway patrol immediately. I gave them every detail I could remember. The time, the description of the man, the license plate number I'd managed to glimpse. They told me they'd follow up. 3 days later, an officer came by the truck stop. They'd found a car abandoned at another rest stop 90 miles east. The man was gone, but in the passenger seat, they'd found evidence that confirmed my worst fear. She'd been there, dead, the whole time I watched that car. The whole time he sat there crying. The whole time he came inside and smiled at me with that empty smile and told me you could hear the angels singing. He'd been driving around with her body for days. They never found him. I still work at that truck stop. I still work overnight. But now, when cars pull in and just sit there with their engines running, I don't wait 15 minutes to call the police, because I can't stop thinking about her, sitting in that passenger seat, staring straight ahead into nothing while her husband sobbed in the parking lot and bought chips he'd never eat and talked about angels singing. And sometimes, late at night when it's really quiet and there's no one else around, I swear I can hear it too. I'm a security guard at County General Hospital. Have been for 6 years. I mostly work the night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., patrolling the hallways, checking doors, making sure the yard doesn't get too chaotic. It's not a glamorous job, but it pays the bills and most nights are quiet. Most nights. The hospital is old, built in 1952, with additions tacked on over the decades like architectural scar tissue. The original building, what we call the North Wing, is the creepiest. Low ceilings, narrow hallways, ancient linoleum that squeaks under your shoes. During the day, it's full of staff and patients. But at night, especially in the basement levels, it's a different world. Hospital basements aren't like basements in houses. They're massive, sprawling labyrinths of storage rooms, mechanical systems, old tunnels connecting buildings, and forgotten spaces that haven't been updated since the 70s. We call it the under, and most staff avoid it if they can. But as security, I have to patrol down there twice a night. Check doors, make sure the homeless haven't gotten into the loading dock, ensure the equipment rooms are secure. I've been doing this route for years without incident, until 3 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday night, around 2 a.m. I took the service elevator down to B2, the second basement level, and stepped out into the fluorescent lit hallway. The air down there always smells like disinfectant and mildew, and there's a constant low hum from the HVAC system that makes it feel like the building is breathing. I started my usual route. Storage rooms first, then the mechanical corridor, then the old tunnel that connects to the medical building. Everything was normal until I reached the old morgue. Let me explain. The hospital built a new morgue on the first floor about 20 years ago, closer to the ER and better equipped. But the old one, down on B2, is still there. They use it for storage now, mostly old files and broken equipment they can't be bothered to throw out. The door is supposed to stay locked, and I check it every night to make sure it is. That night it was open, not wide open, but cracked about 6 inches, light spilling out into hallway. I stopped, my hand instinctively going to my radio. The old morgue doesn't have lights that turn on automatically. Someone had to be inside. Hello? I called out, pushing the door open wider. Security. Anyone in here? The room looked exactly like you'd imagine an old morgue. White tile walls, stainless steel drawers along one side. Empty now, thank God. And metal shelving units stacked with cardboard boxes and outdated medical equipment. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered occasionally, buzzing like dying insects. but there was no one inside. I did a full sweep of the room, checked behind the shelves, looked in the corners, even, and I'm not proud of this, opened a few of the old morgue drawers just to make sure. All empty, all covered in dust. I was about to leave when I noticed something on the floor near the back wall. Fresh footprints. Not shoe prints, bare footprints. Small ones like a child's. And they were wet, leaving faint impressions on the dusty tile floor. They led from the back corner of the room to the door, then disappeared in the hallway. My skin went cold. I followed the footprints out into the corridor, my flashlight beam cutting through the dim hallway. They continued for about 20 feet, then just stopped in the middle of the hallway. No doorways nearby, nowhere they could have gone. I radioed upstairs to see if any kids had been reported missing from the pediatric ward. The answer was no. I checked the security cameras for that corridor, but B2 only has cameras at the elevator and stairwell entrances. None in the hallways themselves. Budget cuts. I told myself it was probably water from a leak, shaped coincidentally like footprints. I locked the morgue door, finished my patrol, and went back upstairs. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next night, I was back on shift. I tried to avoid the B2 level entirely. But at 2:15 a.m., I got a call from the charge nurse on the 4th floor. Someone had reported hearing strange noises coming from below, scraping sounds like metal on concrete. I had to go check. I took the elevator down to B2 again, my heart pounding harder than it should have been. When the doors opened, the hallway was dark. Not dim, completely dark. The lights were out, which had never happened before. I clicked on my flashlight and stepped out cautiously. The beam cut through the blackness, illuminating patches of floor and wall as I moved forward. The mechanical hum was louder now, almost aggressive, and beneath it I could hear something else. Scraping, just like the nurse had said. Metal on concrete, rhythmic and slow. It was coming from the old morgue. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, call it in, wait for backup. But I'm security. This is my job. I approached the morgue door, locked, just as I'd left it, and pressed my ear against it. The scraping stopped. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Then from inside the room, I heard a child's voice. Singing. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. My blood turned to ice. I fumbled with my keys, hands shaking so badly I could barely get the right one into the lock. The singing continued, soft and melodic and wrong. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. I threw the door open, flashlight raised. The room was empty, but every single morgue drawer, all 12 of them, was pulled open, not just cracked, but fully extended, like someone had opened them all at once. The metal tracks gleamed in my flashlight beam, and on the floor, there were more footprints. Dozens of them now, crisscrossing the room in chaotic patterns, wet and small and leading nowhere. I backed out of that room so fast I nearly tripped. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and ran to the elevator. I didn't stop running until I was back in the security office on the 1st floor, surrounded by other people and bright lights and the normal sound of a hospital at night. I filed a report. I told them everything. They checked the morgue the next day. All the drawers were closed. No footprints. No water leaks. Nothing out of place. They said I must have been mistaken, that maybe I'd left the drawers open myself and forgotten, that the footprints were from earlier maintenance I hadn't noticed, that the singing was probably sound traveling from the pediatric ward through the ventilation system. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. I requested a transfer, Today's shift. They granted it. I don't patrol B2 anymore. I don't go down to the under. But sometimes, when I'm walking past elevators at night, I see one coming up from B2. The door's open and there's no one inside. Just wet footprints on the elevator floor. Small ones, leading out into the hallway.